All right, everybody, welcome back. Had my little beer. I'm feeling all good and warm inside. And of course, if you guys missed the first part of this week 8 reactions, feel free to hit the link down in the description below. I'll definitely set one up for you guys if you want to hear that as well. My name is Doc Klugman. This is Uncut Nonsense, of course, and we're going to be breaking down the rest of the week 8 reactions that I have, including my picks for the week 9 games coming up in the NFL season. Moving forward, we have the Giants taking on the Eagles. That ended up happening in week 8. And as a Giants fan, this one hurts as well. I picked the Giants because I had that false hope that a New York Giants fan has because it's like, oh, wow, they played in New York and the Giants ended up, doing pretty well. So I have, that chance in me. And unfortunately, it was very, very short lived. I should have been more wiser and picked the Eagles. I mean, it was a game where the first game that these two teams played each other, it was a game that was very, very well played by the New York Giants. They were playing at home. They had the energy. It was a week or two after, or it was two. It was about 2 weeks after their big win against the Los Angeles Chargers, and they wanted a revenge game after losing to the Saints. And if you basically tuned in the second half of that game, the Giants friggin' manhandled the Philadelphia Eagles. This was different though. The Eagles' offense was very steady, and it was a little suspect because they played a team in the Minnesota Vikings the week before. They get them back on the win streak, and I was wondering, I was like, well, I said, is the Eagles the same team that we're expecting to see from them from an offensive standpoint? They were same. Saquon Barkley, the ex-Giant, ends up having a very big game against his ex-team. He started off with like a 60-something run on the first drive that they ended up having for a touchdown, and it only got better for him. So, in regards to the whole Saquon Barkley trade, because I am a New York Giants fan, I'm sure people have like views on that, at least in my standpoint of it. It was a major fuck up for New York Giants. I'll go into I'll go into details more so at a later date, but it definitely was the wrong decision. Let me say that. And obviously, you have somebody like Daniel Jones who you ended up paying all that money for that ended up not working out. I, I know it's easier for me to say, being that I've seen the future for it already. But even when that first ended up happening, I was like, no, I was like, go with Saquon, but it was not ended up meant to be, and it ended up costing them. So, besides that, obviously, we'll go for the game itself that happened on Sunday. The Eagles just overall was in control the whole game. 38-20. Don't let the final score fool you. It was overall just a very impressive game for the Eagles. The Eagles got the job done as expected from a team like them. They ended up going to 6-2. They still have a nice, sort of chokehold now lead in the NFC East division over the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys, who are battling for the second place position. And then obviously you have the Giants at 2-6 now, who are the cellar dwellers in that division. And it's a good game for Saquon Barkley. It's a good game to get the offense back and going again, to get them all juiced up again as they look forward, for their future, for the rest of the season. They go into the bye week as well, and they end up playing the Packers. They play the Lions. They play the Cowboys. They play the Bears. Going in December, they have the Chargers, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bills, and then the Commanders again to finish off the season at the beginning of January. And it's it's a half and half season. They obviously play some really tough opponents, in the Packers and the Lions right off the bye. You have the Chargers, who knows about them, and then you play the Bills, a few days after Christmas. And obviously the Commanders, it's a divisional opponent. You play them twice in 3 weeks. Who knows what's going to get from Washington Commanders? Are they going to be a spoiler in Week 18? Are they going to be, a team that ends up, doing pretty good because the game played at Washington on December 20th? It's a mixed bag when it comes to them. I think the Eagles are set in a very good position right now. The NFC East is a division for them to lose. The biggest backbreaker for the Giants, when you look at their standpoint, is that Cam Scatterboo is lost for the season. with the injury. And just as a Giants fan, yeah, I mean, as a football fan in general, you hate to see it. Of course, when he went down and injured and he was carted off the field, the Philadelphia Eagles fans, who are known to obviously, of course, be a very brutal fan base that is disrespectful and everything like that, that stereotype on them was clearly wiped away in the fact that everybody had to stand the ovation for Cam Scattaboo, when he was carted off the field to make sure that him as a human being was okay. He will be gone for the rest of the season. He is expected to return at the start of next season. On top of that, you'll lose Malik Neighbors a few weeks back, and it's not looking good for my New York Giants. It really is not. And overall, it's going to be another lost season. I'm expected to see that already. I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, I like to humble myself as a very realistic Giants fan personally. And I do think that that is just a reality that you sit in. They might get another one or two wins, of course, against some scrappy teams. They'll still play the Raiders again. I believe they play. They might get a nice, win against a team like Washington, who's on the bottom end right now. Maybe they get a nice little, win against a horrible Dallas defense or whatever the case you want to say. But the Giants season is basically over. That hope that you had with Jackson Dart, that's something you move forward to at the start of next season. And in regards to the Eagles, they have the opportunity now to continue to surge. I read off the remaining schedule for them, and it's hope, it's possibility. Then they got to keep what they're doing right now with a solid offense. They got to continue to have Saquon Barkley on the rushing attack for them. Obviously, give Jalen Hurts a little bit of a break when it comes to the passing. They have to, consistently do that, and that is what is going to lead to Philadelphia Eagle wins. It's something where we've seen at the start of at the middle of the year right now. They had lost two straight. They lost to the Giants and they lost to I can't remember the team off the top of my head, but they had lost two straight, and people were wondering, oh no, what about this? What about that? And there was rightful concern for that. But the concern was the offensive standpoint. You were not using Saquon Barkley. You were not using, all these additional players that you ended up having. Your defense had fell a little bit flat, and they ended up giving up a little bit more than what you used to. And then all of a sudden, everybody was in a panic. The Philadelphia Eagles are not in a panic. They are going to win the division. I predicted in the beginning of the season. I still hold strong to that. I think they will be the first team in NFC East in the last like 20, 25 years to be able to go back to back division champions, but they have to stay consistent. That's the big thing when it comes to Philadelphia. Good win for Philly. Giants are just hoping at this point for the future, in my opinion. Moving on after that, we have the Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals. Jets, you get your first win. Congratulations. I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but it's like I hate to see the Jets win, but at the same time, it's like, all right, nobody's going to go 0-17 this year. So I guess that's wonderful. But I have two things in regards to this. And I'm not going to save you. I'm going to save everybody the time when it comes to this. And it's 2 points that I want to bring up, one for each one. The Jets fall behind, early in this game, as always. They ended up for what you think would be garbage time. They ended up becoming a good powerhouse on offense at the end of it, led by Justin Fields. Remember, Tyrod Taylor was supposed to start this game as quarterback for the New York Jets, and he ended up being hurt with, I believe it was a knee injury, and they had to go with Justin Fields again. And Justin Fields ended up leading the charge for, the Jets in this situation with the Cincinnati Bengals. And this, like I said, there's two things I want to bring with this. This game alone could be an easy 45-minute rant for me. But I'm going to try to keep it simple, try to save everybody time because we got a lot more other important shit to go over. From the Jets standpoint, this is an incredible, and I mean incredible, comeback win and bounce back win for Justin Fields, the quarterback. I'm going to single him out specifically. Justin Fields was a quarterback that was unable to get 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games that they ended up playing for the New York Jets. Against the Panthers and then against the Broncos 2 weeks ago. He not only does that, but he ends up helping put up 39 points for the New York Jets. That is absolutely incredible. Second point to that for the Jets is that nobody, and I mean nobody, better give head coach Aaron Glenn credit for this win. The only fact in this is that Aaron Glenn has gotten his first win as a head coach in the NFL level. That is the only fact that you can say about this situation and about this head coach. He has done nothing for this team. Let me make that clear. At the fourth quarter, I believe it was, the Jets ended up scoring a touchdown, and they are behind, I believe it's 8 points. 38-30, if I'm not mistaken. Now, naturally, you look at this, okay, kick the extra point, you're down by 7, a touchdown at that point will end up, regardless, you kick an extra point, you're only down by 1 score, yada, yada, yada. The Jets choose to go for 2. Now, the Jets, to their credit, end up making it, thankfully. They end up going ahead, and the touchdown that they end up scoring with the extra point ends up giving them the 1 point advantage. At the time, though, it is an absolutely stupid move to take the risk. And it's like, oh, if we go for 2, cool. We're only down by 6. If we just, kick the extra point, we're only down by 7. Still 1 score. Regardless of the fact, if we don't get the 2-point conversion, we are now down by 8, and we are continuing to fight ourselves back. That is not a smart move. That is not a move that you should be making. I understand you are still within that one, that you're still within that one striking distance, that 1 score striking distance, but that is not the time that you go for 2. Every move, and you can date this back weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, every move that is made by Aaron Glenn, and maybe it's not Aaron Glenn. If it's not Aaron Glenn, then I apologize. Every move that is made by Aaron Glenn has proven to do one of 2 things. If the Jets lose, then Aaron Glenn's decision making has been the factor to help them lose. If the Jets find a way to win, then Aaron Glenn's decision making has almost prevented them from winning. Let that sink in. So he is either almost making you lose or holding you back from winning. Is that a head coach that you want? Is that something that you want for a team that's gone now almost 15, or at this point now 15 years? You have the longest playoff drought in pro sports in North America between the NFL, the MLB, the NHL hockey, and the NBA basketball. Is that the decision making you want to happen? You want to basically play the most extreme Russian roulette possible? Maybe you don't. Maybe you think, Aaron Glenn's standpoint. Maybe you think that you're going to be there no matter what, and you're going to be able to, oh, we can go 1-16, and I'll still be back next year, so then I'll do improvements. Maybe that's your mindset, and if that's your mindset, God bless you, because you're a fucking idiot. I don't get the thought process. I don't get the logic. I don't get anything in regards to New York Jets. Thank God Justin Fields has been able to save the New York Jets' franchise and just in general the Jets fan base from absolutely blowing up entirely, because he is the savior when it comes to this last Sunday. In regards to the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm going to say this. This has been a problem for a long time. The defense. Offense, you have Joe Burrow. Offense, you have Jamar Chase. You have Higgins. You have You have these offensive juggernauts. The defense has been a problem. And the defense is not something where it's like, oh, it's an issue that we had at the start of this season or anything like that. This has been a fucking issue for years now, and you still have not done anything about it. And that is the most infuriating part. And I'm not even a Bengals fan. That is the most infuriating part. And I feel so bad for this fan base is that you have gone this far in completely neglecting your defense and have been like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's whatever. That's basically what you said. Our offense will get the job done. Our defense, whatever. That's not good enough. And your defense has completely destroyed your team to be where you can't even put up 38 points offensively and you still can't even win the goddamn game. Even at home against Cincinnati, when your team rooting for you. At the end of that game, the crowd was booing. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised they weren't throwing trash on the field like the Browns did how many decades ago in that game. Like they should have been. I'm not condoned for violence on the players on the field or whatever like that. But if I was a fan, I'd be outraged. I'd be throwing shit on the field. If I'm that passionate about this has been a problem, the defense that you have had for a long time. This is inexcusable. You get a great win last week against a Pittsburgh Steelers team. Pittsburgh loses. I mean, you don't know this at the time playing the Jets, but Pittsburgh later on would lose against the Packers. This is your chance to end up taking even a bigger step in the AFC North division, and you can't get it done because you lose to the Jets, a team that is at 0-7, that is just basically winging it at this point. And you give up 39 points to an offense that is absolutely atrocious. Just so disappointing from Cincinnati. I mean, at this point, put in an Ohio high school team at this point. I bet you they would do a lot better defensively than the Cincinnati Bengals team. And they pay these players in Cincinnati's defense a ton of money. And yet you can't get the job done like this. It's a freaking embarrassment. And it's so frustrating, even for somebody like me who's not even a fan of either one of these franchises, to see this, though, to see this mediocrity of football from teams that are supposed to be being, for players that are supposed to be paid this much money. It's an absolute joke. I just want to move on from this game. I needed to take a small break because I think my voice was getting a little bit hoarse from like yelling a little bit more. Not really yelling, but just a little bit more than that. I, as the name of the channel indicates, it's uncut nonsense, and it's uncut because I don't like to do a lot of edits. I don't like to rely on a lot of edits. A lot of the stuff you hear is straight wall to wall, like one from the other. And I like to keep it that way, to be completely honest with you, because I don't want to rely on. I'm not judging anybody who does rely on editing or anything like that. I mean, that's a very good professional way to do it. But I don't like to rely on editing alone. To do it, I like to just make it all uncut, unraw, whatever the hell you want to call it. But moving on, Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely slaughtered the New Orleans Saints 23-3. He was being played in New Orleans, and it did not matter. The Saints are an absolute mess. They were basically the other team that I had. I alluded to it earlier with in the first part, excuse me, with the Tennessee Titans of like, oh, this is a team that like, oh, they got one win. Are they really going to end up winning another one? And the Saints are another one of those teams. They got the good win against the New York Giants a few weeks back. And besides that, is this a team that really is going to win another game? They've really overall, from an defensive, special teams, coaching standpoint, they're really not a good team, and they get easily overmatched against these other good teams. And this is Tampa Bay, of course, that ends up, wrapping up another good win for them. They're now 6-2. They continue their strong chokehold on the NFC South division. Now, the NFC South division is not obviously the best. However, it's enough to be able to give them that good position when it comes to not only the division championship, but when it comes to the actual playoff standpoint. Maybe it gives them that third seed, potentially that second seed. It all depends on how it ends up going. As 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I'm not entirely ready to dismiss them because who wouldn't? Because they still are a very impressive team. They got the game early in a nice, interception, thrown by Spencer Radley in the second quarter. That started the scoring, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then from there, they ended up tacking on, some more points in the third and eventual fourth quarter on a couple field goals and ended up giving them the win. It was an overall impressive offensive showing. Baker Mayfield was obviously not himself because missing all the good receiving core that they ended up having because they're riddled with injuries. Baker Mayfield goes 15 for 24 for 152 yards. Nothing to write home about. However, again, it's enough to get the job done. So I'm not ready to absolutely dismiss it. The defense did a very good job keeping Alvin Kamara, contained, especially in the ground game. He only went 6 carries for 21 yards. So it was enough, even though they were kind of, I guess you could say, outdone in multiple aspects throughout the game. They were, passing wise, the Saints did better. Total yards, the Saints ended up controlling that as well. When it came to, just in general first down, Saints had more first downs. If you even want to, break it down to that particular standpoint, they still ended up doing better in regards to that. But Tampa Bay controlled that game just because they're the better team and just because they in this this aspect, even going into the season, you knew they were going to be the better team. Saints go into their bye week, and after that, you end up playing the Patriots, which is going to be a tough game. The Bills, which is going to be a tough game. The Rams, another tough game. You're going to gauntlet of three tough games. Cardinals, you'll play the Saints again. You'll play the Falcons, the Panthers, a couple divisional games, Dolphins and Panthers. So really, the Bucks have three tough games left: Patriots, Bills, Rams. After that, I'm not surprised. Let's just say, for argument's sake, the Bucks drop those last three games. The next three games, excuse me. They go to 6-5. I don't see them losing the rest of their schedule. I really don't. And in NFC South Division, which is so piss poor, that's enough to win. This is just showing that the Bucks are such a dominant team. Maybe they'll end up winning against either the Rams, the Bills, or whatever. Maybe they'll end up winning in those games. And if they do, awesome, good for them. But at the same time, even if they drop all three, I'm not worried about the Bucks. In complete honesty, I'm more so worried about the Saints in regards to their overall future. Cowboys and the Broncos. That game right there was a very impressive one. And I say it in regards to the Broncos game. Broncos was a team that these last 3 weeks have been a ride. They play in London against New York Jets. The offense looks absolutely terrible. The defense shows up. Then they play against the New York Giants last week in Denver, I should say, where the first 3 quarters, the defense is absolute. I mean, I'll be honest, the defense is dog shit. And the offense can't get anything going. The offense is shut out in 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, they make this unbelievable comeback, score 33 points, and they end up beating the New York Giants 33 to 32. Giants lose that game, but the Broncos also win it offensively. Now they go into this game against again, it's being played in Denver, but they play against a Dallas Cowboys team who they end up manhandling them. And we already knew that Dallas's defense sucked. However, the fact that Bo Nix is able to contribute at such a high level moving forward is so impressive to me. And I really like Bo Nix. I liked him in college. I liked him when he went to the NFL. I was already like, oh yeah, you know what? I really think he's going to do something. He just has to get more chances and stuff like that. He didn't do anything spectacular. Now he threw for 4 touchdowns. Good for him. He had almost 250 yards passing. Good for him as well. It wasn't anything absolutely spectacular. Dobbins for the rushing game had 111 yards rushing. Just it was a mix of everything, which made it so good. And it was a combination between the mix of a great offense by the Denver Broncos and an absolute horrendous defense for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's something that needs to be obviously looked into moving forward. Schottenheimer, the new head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, needs to look into that and he needs to address these concerns. If the Dallas Cowboys have any hope in doing something this season, they now stand at a record of 3-4-1. Remember, they had the tie against Green Bay. If they stand any hope of doing something, they need to improve that defense, even just a little bit, to give them that. We all know how Dak Prescott is. And I've never had any doubt with Dak when it comes to the regular season. We all know Dak is a beast in the regular season. Playoffs is when the problem happens, but you've got to get through the regular season first. And if they can't get through the regular season because of that horrible defense, that's something that needs to be addressed moving forward. I was skeptical when it came to the Michael Parsons trade at the beginning or, a week or two out of the regular season start. And at the same time, it's showing every single freaking week that this Dallas defense is just that bad. They're so uncoordinated. They're not coached properly. They just seem to be looking around, kind of, absent minded. And it shows because they're just giving up so much, even to these teams where I'm not trying to take anything away from Dobbins or Knicks or anything like that, but it shows that the Denver Broncos team should not be able to hang 44 points on you because it should be a lot closer of a game if your defense actually. You have to give Dak Prescott a chance. Dak Prescott is great offensively. Again, I'll say it asterisk when it comes to the regular season. However, Dak Prescott is good enough where you need to give him a chance. He scores 24 points. You have to give a chance. If he scores 24 points for you offensively, you can't lose by freaking 20. That's not acceptable. It's not. He puts up 24 points. I'm not saying it's the most in the world, but it definitely is not, an absolute, no show by the offense. You're not even giving him a chance. And that's the future for the Dallas Cowboys. You have to give Dak Prescott a chance. Dak Prescott's not the greatest quarterback to walk the face of the earth. However, he can win you games if you give him a chance. And I'm not even talking about for himself on offense. I mean, give him a chance on the defensive front. And if you cannot do that for him, then there's very little hope in Dallas. As for Denver, incredible win by them. Really looking forward to see what they do in the future. San Francisco 49ers lose to the Houston Texans. Let me say this first. CJ Stroud, he had his best game of the season. He really did. This was the first game by CJ Stroud where I feel like he actually had control over the game by watching it. And that is the most impressive thing that I've seen out of him and the Houston Texans so far this season. And it's really good. It's very promising for this team because before that, I had a lot of doubts about this. I really did because I was just overall concerned. And honestly, who wouldn't be? Who would not be in this situation when it comes to how the Houston Texans have played out? They're going to this game 2-4. They end up having a lot of bad stretches so far. When it comes to San Francisco, they end up getting something going late passing touchdown by by Jones at the end of the first half, so kind of leaves things a little bit to be desired. But they end up holding strong defensively, especially in the second half. And that's what the difference maker is in this game. They end up holding the San Francisco 49ers only 8 points, and that was scored in the third quarter. And to be able to hold, them for a majority of the game and they're winning 26-15, that is a huge statement for this Texans team in general. And that's something that needs to be looked forward to. Obviously, they play in an AFC South that ends up being dominated right now by the Indianapolis Colts. You have the Titans who are a mess. You have the Jacksonville Jaguars who are not that great either. However, this is an opportunity right now for the Texans to potentially end up giving themselves an opportunity to give to do better, essentially. And that's the hope that I have potentially for this team. If it's not an absolute divisional win in the AFC South, maybe it's an opportunity to get the wild card. CJ Stroud is very good, 30 for 39, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 interception, but it's okay. And they end up contributing to another win with a San Francisco beat up team. And the injuries are just piling up for San Fran. It's very, very upsetting to see because this is a team that's riddled with injuries the entire time. I'm going to read them off to you right now. Upton Stout, the cornerback for San Francisco, is out. Offensive lineman Ben Barch. I'm sorry if I missay these names. Defensive tackle Alfred Collins. Brock Purdy is out. Quarterback Bryce Huff, the defensive lineman. Jake Brentel, offensive lineman. You have Ricky Parcells, wide receiver. D Winters, linebacker for the 49ers. Jordan Elliott is out. He's on the D line. Jacob Crowley is out. He's a wide receiver. Curtis Rourke, quarterback. Again, obviously back up, going back a little bit, but still, again, injury. All these players, Fred Warner, Nick Bossy, he's out as well now, the defensive lineman. He's out with a knee injury, his ACL. Jacob Robinson, Patrick Taylor, Trylon Jackson, Trent Taylor, Trey Tomlinson. The list goes on and on and on. All these players on the IR. Some of them, you're not going to see them again the rest of the season. I'm guarantee you about that. And the injuries just continue to pile up. And I'm not even talking about people that are like third string, where it's like, I don't mean to discredit them, but it's like, oh, you're not going to see them anyway. These are players that you're going to see consistently, and they're players that are already on the field for San Francisco that are going to be injury prone and potentially could be out. If they go down to the second quarter, they're not going to play the rest of the game. Maybe they'll be back next week, but they don't contribute right then and there for your team. I'm concerned still about these injuries for San Francisco. They stay on the road. They're going to play the Giants next week. I'll have my predictions a little bit later on. Texans, they stay strong, and they're just trying to stay relevant when it comes to the AFC South. I think there still is a possibility for them, but we're going to see moving forward. Now you have the Pittsburgh Steelers dropping the game against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers were kind of outplayed in that first half, and then this was, I believe, the Sunday night game, and they end up producing a very beautiful win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is a win now that is a knock on the Pittsburgh Steelers for not contributing the way they should. They took advantage in this first half of taking advantage of having a very good lead. Aaron Rodgers was playing good. They held the nice offense by Jordan Love in check. And now you have the issue at the start of the second half where the Green Bay Packers take control. And this is a very good Green Bay Packers team. I'm not going to obviously discredit them when it comes to, the win that they were able to do. However, it should not happen when you are a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They give up 21 points in the fourth quarter. It's not good enough. And it shows just another knock on this Pittsburgh Steelers team. The defense collapses just like they did last week against Cincinnati. They end up having the issue, overall with the rest of the division now creeping up on them. I'm very concerned because the Steelers are known to being able to, at this point, still win. And then you have their last 5 or 6 games where they just completely drop. They lay an egg. Mike Tomlin is then stuttering in front of the mic, and they have a completely big fuck up. That is basically is the Pittsburgh Steelers. To be dropping this many games early, I am still very concerned about this. The Green Bay Packers hold strong, and you can't ask for more than that. Jordan Love does very well on the offensive standpoint when it comes to it. Defense ended up holding strong in the second half. They ended up holding the Pittsburgh Steelers to, you know, very limited amount of momentum, which is exactly what you want if you are the defense for the opposition. However, I'm just overall concerned with the Steelers moving forward because now you have the Baltimore Ravens who have shown that they can win without Lamar Jackson. They get Lamar Jackson now coming back this week. You can assume that they're going to win again. I don't know about the Bengals, as horrible as that defense is, and I've already went on a rant about them. They have produced enough to be able to, offensively. I'm sorry, they produce enough to be able to get the win for them. So they're still a mixed bag. Are the Steelers that third place team in that division? I don't know. It's a major question mark, and we're going to see it moving forward. The Ravens have an easy schedule. Moving forward, the Pittsburgh Steelers do not. We went over the Ravens schedule. The Ravens schedule is actually pretty somewhat decent, and it's very favorable for them. Look ahead to Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. They end up they already used their bye. They had an early bye. They played the Colts. That's a tough game. They played the Chargers. That's a tough game. Bengals are on the fence. The Bears. We'll see what they have to do later on the season at the end of November. You know, then they play, the Bills. That's going to be a tough game. They have to play the Ravens twice. They have to play, the Lions again. The schedule is not favorable for Pittsburgh. And did this, couple wins by Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin is a mirage. I called it at the start of the season that this is going to be the year where the Pittsburgh Steelers cannot reach 500 under Mike Tomlin. I didn't believe it the last couple of years. I still had Mike Tomlin finishing above 500 or at least 500 in general. He was able to stay strong with me. I said this was going to be the year that the Steelers did not finish above 500. We'll see what the future holds when it comes to those teams. Washington and Kansas City. I'll make this one quick. This was the Monday night game. I think on paper it ended up looking a lot better than it actually was, but it was a very poor performance when it came to Washington. I know they were missing Jaden Daniels, but that really does not really sink much into it. Even if they did not have Marcus Mariota throw the ball for them, even if it was Jaden Daniels, I would still end up giving the win to KC. KC ended up improving overall to a 5-3 record. They keep with it when it comes to the rest of the AFC West Division. They're tied right now with the Chargers. Chargers, of course, have the tiebreaker ahead of them because of the Week 1 win against KC in the beginning of the season, and they're a game behind the 6-2 Denver Broncos. KC is surging right now. Washington Commanders are on the downward spiral. There's nothing more to really say about it. I thought this was ironically a pretty easy win for the Kansas City Chiefs. They were at home on top of it. And I mean, I hate to say because it is a Monday night football game. Patrick Mahomes showed up. Everything that I expected to happen ended up happening. It's like one of those. It's one of those scenarios where you're like, oh, it's rare scenarios, I should say, is when you're like, oh, this should happen, this should happen, this should happen. It won't happen, but it should happen. But in this case, everything that should happen ended up happening. I'm not going to stretch too long on this because I think it is obvious if you watch the game that KC had full control over this from the beginning. Don't let 28-7 fool you. This was all KC in a massive sort of chokehold. Excuse me, apologies. It was a massive win by KC, and it's an overall good win. They look forward for the rest of the season, and overall, Washington has a lot of thinking to do as they try to battle their way back in the NFC North Division. Let's look at last week. I could have went 10-3 if I didn't go complete dumbass and pick Minnesota to get the upset and pick the Giants to get the upset. I had the rest of my picks basically correct. Buffalo ended up winning. New Orleans, not New Orleans, Jesus. New England held strong. I picked Baltimore because I thought they were going to get the nice win off of the bye. And again, I figured that Lamar Jackson would be back. Turned out it ended up still helping me regardless. Tampa Bay won, Green Bay won. KC, I thought that was an easy pick. I thought, the Colts was an easy pick. And I thought Denver was going to get the job done as well. My big losses was really upsets. Cincinnati wasn't upset. The Jets ended up upsetting them. I trusted San Fran. They fucked me over though. And I trusted Atlanta, but they ended up laying a big old goose egg. So it should have been 10-3. I ended up going 8-5 though. My total is 78-43 right now. Obviously the buys last week though, just to reiterate, was the Cardinals, Lions, Jaguars, Raiders, Rams, and Seahawks. And moving forward, of course, these are my predictions, going forward. The bye this week is the Browns, Jets, Eagles, and Buccaneers. I got Baltimore taking care of business Thursday Night Football against Miami. I think Denver stays hot, even though they're on the road against the Texans. I'll give Denver the win in this case to improve the 7-2. I think Indianapolis gets the good road win against Pittsburgh. That's a game that could go either way. You never know. But I'll go with Indianapolis in that case. I think Green Bay at home takes care of business. They end up beating up the Carolina Panthers. I'll take Detroit over a struggling Minnesota Vikings team. San Francisco, I swear I'm going against my New York Giants. Just for the sake of picking it, I'll be rooting hard for my Giants. However, if San Fran messes me up 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to be upset. I'll give the win to San Fran, though. I think without Cam Scatterboo, the offense is not really going to be the same for the New York Giants. I wish all the best for Cam Scatterboo as well as all the other injured players, of course. Los Angeles Chargers, they're going to end up beating Tennessee, I feel. New England Patriots, I think they'll be able to take care of business in Foxborough against the Atlanta Falcons. Chicago and Cincinnati. So this is the game that's a big highlight for me. I'll give the win to Cincinnati. I think they have a big bounce back win after losing to the Jets. I think that Chicago's offense is kind of on a stutter right now. However, who knows? Cincinnati's defense is able to make Chicago's make any offense really look so impressive. So I'll give the win to Cincinnati in this case, but I am not at all confident with that pick. Jacksonville, Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas won their last game against Tennessee. It's just because Tennessee was so horrible. Give me Jacksonville in that win. Rams versus the Saints. I'll take the Rams in that one. KC Buffalo. Here's the big thing with that one. Buffalo owns the series during the regular season. They're also at home in this case. I'm going to take KC in it because I think KC is at a higher surge right now. I think the defense is going to be able to limit Josh Allen enough. And I have a lot more faith in that offense for KC than I did last season. They're showing that they're able, at a higher strain, to be able to put up a lot more points. Give me KC in that victory. I'm on the fence about it, but I'm going to give that, especially since they have a lot more of their wide receiver help coming back. In the last couple of weeks, they definitely have shown up and shown out. Then you go to Seattle versus Washington. Washington's on a major downward trend right now. Seattle also has the rest because they're bye week. Give me Seattle on the road. And then Dallas and Arizona. Arizona's just right now a little bit too low on my case. I know they ended up having the bye week as well. I'll take the Cowboys in the Monday Night Football game. Give me Dallas in that case. But that's going to end up doing it for our Week 8 reactions and our Week 9 predictions. Of course, if you guys missed part 1 of this, please feel free to hit the link down below. Definitely let me know what you guys think about that. Feel free to subscribe if you guys enjoyed what you heard. And of course, even if not subscribing, drop some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think about this. Tell me about your favorite team. Tell me about what you guys thought about this when looking at the games in this Week 8 season, or just overall in the NFL season alone. My name is Doc Klugman. This is Uncut Nonsense, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.